Hey, what's up, everybody? So coming to you today with another 2020 year-end top 10. In this video, I'm going to break down the 140-pound junior welterweight division. And yeah, we're just going to pretty much jump right into it and take a look at the guys that dropped out from last year. And the first of those is former WBO champion Maurice Hooker. Hooker was previously number 7. He didn't fight at all in 2020. There was a lot of talks. He actually was scheduled to fight Regis Progrey in April on a DAZN card, and that fight got scratched due to the coronavirus pandemic. They were still lobbying to fight each other, but they really came down to 1 pound, which really pissed me off at Hooker. Because, you know, Hooker in his previous fight had moved up to a catch weight of 144 pounds. And so, you know, it was really looked, you know, like he was going to be willing to do that catch weight again before moving fully up to 147, which we pretty much knew he was going to move to 147. But a fight with Progrey would have been big for Hooker. And so he ended up coming to, you know, him and Progrey were still going to fight. And then he decided to demand the fight take place at 145 instead of the original agreed upon 144. And Progrey, who's trying to stay at 140 for a while longer before he moves up to 47, I'm sorry, the welterweight limit. You know, he just didn't want to do that. So, you know, Hooker said, well, this is what I'm doing. And he officially moved up to 147. And there was talks about him and Josecito Lopez fighting on the Danny Garcia, Errol Spence undercard. I thought that was actually going to happen. It didn't. And then there was talks about him fighting Robert Easter Jr. And that fight didn't take place either. So really not sure what's going on with Maurice Hooker, the former world champion. But I'm hoping we can see him jump back into the mix sometime soon and take on somebody, you know, decent. At least trying to get into the welterweight mix, because he didn't even make the welterweight top 10 for me because he hasn't done enough. So that's it for him. The other guy to drop out is former WBA champion Relic from Belarus. Relic hasn't fought. He dropped out due to inactivity. He hasn't fought since April of 2019 when he lost the world title in the World Boxing Super Series semifinals to Regis Progrey by TKO in the 6th or 7th round, I believe. I was wondering why we didn't see him come back. I know a loss like that, I mean, he got his ass whipped against Progrey. I know a loss like that can be devastating to a fighter, so I'm pretty sure that was part of it. But I really couldn't understand why we hadn't seen him back in the ring at all. So I went and looked and tried to read a little bit more in depth on him. And I read something about a conflict or civil war or something going on in his country of Belarus that's causing him to not be able to travel and fight. So not 100% accurate on that story. Like I said, I mean, when I read these things, I'm reading them through pretty quick. But there's a reason why he hasn't fought. So I'm hoping he comes back at some point. He was previously number 8 coming into the year. And he's a pretty good fighter overall. He's only 31, so hopefully we see him back. I wouldn't be surprised if he moved up to welterweight and fought up there next. So we'll see. So now we jump straight into the top 10 and see what's going on with the top 10 junior welterweights in the world. We start with number 10 contender Adrian Granados. You know, Granados is just he's like one of my old reliables. He's not that old though. He's only 31, but it seems like he's been around for a long time, and he kind of has and been relevant. But you know, he didn't fight in 2020, but his performance against Robert Easter last year is why I keep him right here. I don't think the up and comers, I don't think anybody really came in and stole the show for me. I know Arnold Barbosa was close, so I got Adrian Granados staying here. If he's still aligned with the PBC, he can make some good fights for himself. If he's not, there are other options too. So I'm hoping we see Granados return soon and really make a serious run at 140, because this is more his weight class. You know, he moved up to welterweight. He took on Danny Garcia and Sean Porter up there, but you know, he was kind of outgunned. He's just too kind of small for that weight. So we'll see what he does next. I'm hoping he comes back soon, though, and shakes off some rust. Next, and still, our next at number 9 is Ivan Barianchik. Last year, he was tied for 10th. Now he's in 9th. Barianchik only fought once, and it was a candidate for Fight of the Year. He went at it with Jose Zepeda, and man, what an all-out war this ended up being. These two guys went toe-to-toe. Barianchik jumped out at him early, put him down. These two guys traded 8 knockdowns, 4 apiece, but in the 5th round, Barianchik got caught cold with a straight left by Zepeda and knocked out cold and lost the fight. But you know what? He was very much in that fight. That fight could have very easily went his way. And, he just got caught with a clean punch against a great fighter. So nothing to hang his head about. Barianchik, in my opinion, can shake this off and bounce back. He's going to be an avoided fighter again, though. He's only 27, and he's a former champ. But I don't know how much guys are going to be signing up to watch him fight or to fight him when he's such a bully in that ring, you know? I mean, yeah, you might be able to catch him if you got some pop, but this guy is straight up a bully and going to make your life hell before that potentially happens. So he's ranked number 7 in the WBC, and we'll see how he bounces back from that loss in 2021. Next at number 8, breaking into the top 10 at 140 for his first time, is former 2-division world champion Jose Pedraza. Pedraza was entering the year coming off that loss to Jose Zepeda in 2019 when he got cleanly outboxed to a 10-round unanimous decision. So he was trying to shake that off and really prove that he belonged at 140 pounds, that he wasn't joking about becoming a 3-division world champ. And he fought a couple times. In July, he took on another, former world title challenger, Mikel Lespierre, who lost an ugly decision to Maurice Hooker a couple years ago. Well, he took him on, and actually, he did pretty well against him. He got a one-sided, clean 10-round unanimous decision. And then he came back in September and took on Javier Molina, a tough up-and-comer, and he cleanly outboxed Molina, too. So a nice win right there for Pedraza, 2 good wins, and he's in the mix now at 140. He's a player. Right now, he's number 6 in the WBO, but I wouldn't be surprised if he moved up quickly, and Pedraza's got a name. He's a decent fighter. He's got somewhat of a name. He's not seen as too big of a threat because he has taken a couple losses in his career, but his losses are to Gervonta Davis and Vasily Lomachenko. So this guy is a good fighter. We're going to see who gets in the ring with him next in 2021. I hope he gets one of the top-ranked guys, Richard Comey, somebody, Masayoshi Nakatani will be good. Those are makeable fights, so we'll see what happens. Next at number 7 is former world title challenger Pablo Cesar Cano. Cano entered the year coming off the biggest victory of his career in January of 2019 when he knocked out Jorge Linares in just 1 round. Even though that was chalked up to Linares being too small for 140, but nonetheless, he got the win. He's fought once since, but in 2020, he didn't fight at all. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that he's with Golden Boy and with Canelo's contract dispute that they had with Golden Boy and DAZN. It was tough for Golden Boy after the pandemic to get their shows on DAZN, because of the whole Canelo holdup. Now that that's all cleared up, I think we should see Cano back fairly soon. Cano doesn't want to waste this opportunity. He's not, let me see. He's the WBC's number 5 contender. He can move up those rankings. He can, hopefully get a decent-sized fight. And he's not perceived to be much of a threat, so that might be appealing to some of the top fighters who are waiting around. So we just got to wait and see. But I think Cano needs to shake off the rust and try to get himself an opportunity in 2021. And Cano also moves up 2 spots from number 9. Next at number 6, and he stays number 6, is former lightweight champion Robert Easter Jr. Robert Easter earlier in the year was being talked about to fight former champ Chris Arreola, but nothing ever came from that. Robert was also rumored to possibly be facing off against Maurice Hooker at welterweight or a catchweight, between junior welter and welterweight. But again, haven't heard anything about that coming to fruition. So he ended up not fighting at all, and Robert Easter needs to try to take advantage of his opportunities and get in the ring. And this year, he really does. He needs to get back and become a serious player at 147 pounds or 140 pounds. He's way too small for 147. Well, not small, it's just he's never been hit by legit welterweights. And, I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea. I think Robert should test the waters here at 140 or potentially fight at 135 if he gets better options there. But I think a move up to 147 is a mistake. So we'll see. Next, and still number 5, is the former world champion Victor Postal. Postal's 36 now, but he entered the year with a mandatory shot against Jose Ramirez on the line. And Ramirez and him were supposed to fight a couple times, but COVID postponed everything. Finally, they got scheduled for late August. A lot of people thought Ramirez was going to bulldoze, Postal, but Postal stood his ground. He did his thing. He showed why he's still a top fighter at 140, and it was a really good, close fight. It could have gone either way. When the judges came back with the score, they scored it a very narrow majority decision for Jose Ramirez, as Postal lost an opportunity at the world title. So, sad day for Postal, but, he proved he still belongs, and hopefully he can get back in the mix and get an opportunity this year. He's WBC number 3. So if he could line himself up to fight for the vacant title, because I believe after the undisputed title fight between Ramirez and Taylor goes off, that belts are going to be given up. And, Jose Zepeda is already the number 1 contender here. I would love to see Zepeda and Postal go at it for the vacant title, but we just got to wait and see what goes down for the WBC belt and for Victor Postal. But I'm really hoping at his age he gets another opportunity because he deserves it. Okay, now I got a 2-way tie for 3rd this year. First, moving up 1 spot from number 4 is the former 2-time world title challenger Jose Zepeda. Zepeda came into the year coming off of a really good 2019 where he almost beat Jose Ramirez to capture the WBC title. He lost a very close majority decision in Ramirez's backyard of Fresno. Then in September of 2019, he came in against Pedraza in a fight where Pedraza was a projected winner, and I couldn't understand why. I thought Zepeda was going to beat him and beat him cleanly, and he did that. And that ended up being the biggest win of his career. Well, in 2020, because of COVID, it was tough to get fights, but in July, when boxing came back, he ended up shaking off some rust, getting a kind of a lackluster 10-round decision against a low-level opponent. And then he followed that up in October when he took on Ivan Baranchyk, and what a lot of people were excited about because this was a true crossroads fight. And he went right at Baranchyk, and Baranchyk went right at him, and Baranchyk forced him into a brawl. And Zepeda ended up being game, and he ended up beating the brawler. They went toe-to-toe. They traded 8 knockdowns in 5 rounds. And the final knockdown tied it at 4 apiece, but it ended the night for Ivan Baranchyk as Zepeda landed a laser left hand down the middle, knocking Baranchyk out cold. It was a candidate for knockout of the year. It's a candidate for fight of the year. Great action right there. Congratulations to Jose Zepeda on that big win right there, as he is now the WBC's number 1 contender. And, he should stay busy and shake off some rust because Ramirez is going to be facing off against Josh Taylor for the undisputed title. After that, he should have a direct shot at a world title, but we got to see what goes down because Jack Catterall is technically the number 1 contender, out of the WBO. But we got to wait to see how that works with the other governing bodies. But I think Zepeda either first half of the year or second half of the year is going to be competing for the vacant WBC title. He should be. He deserves it. So we'll see what happens. That's Jose Zepeda. Tying him for 3rd and remaining 3rd is former WBA champion Regis Progrey. Well, Progrey entered the year coming off that loss in the World Boxing Super Series finals to Josh Taylor in a great fight. They went toe-to-toe, but Taylor took a very close majority decision to win the tournament and unify belts. So Progrey was trying to find a fight. He had a fight lined up with Maurice Hooker at a catchweight of 144, and that fight ended up getting scrapped due to the coronavirus. They were trying to still get the fight off, but Hooker decided he wanted the fight to be at 145, and Progrey was not game for that, as Progrey wants to stay at 140 overall to, continue to get the big fights there before he moves up to 147 eventually. So Progrey ended up not doing anything until October when he fought on the Leo Santa Cruz Gervonta Davis undercard, and he ended up getting a big third-round knockout win over Juan Heraldez, an unknown fighter, but it was an impressive performance on a big card. And now Progrey is the WBC's number 2 contender, but is he going to use that to go after a world title to try to force the winner of Taylor and Ramirez into the ring? We got to wait and see what happens. It really depends on who he's fighting for, though. That's a big deal, because there was talks about him possibly fighting for the PBC, but that's not substantiated. I heard it was a one-fight deal, and then I heard it was a multiple-fight deal. So we got to wait and see. I personally think it is a one-fight deal, and he's a free agent. He can fight who he wants, but we just got to wait and see. But Progrey, in my opinion, is still the best fighter at 140 and can beat anybody. And I'm hoping he gets an opportunity this year, because he does get widely avoided because of his talent and his power. So we'll see. Okay, next we have a two-way tie for first. The first of those, moving up one spot from number 2, is the undefeated WBC WBO Unified Champion, Jose Ramirez. Ramirez entered the year number 2. He had a mandatory fight with Victor Postal lined up. Coronavirus pushed that fight back a couple times. I actually missed out on watching the fight in Fresno. It was supposed to take place in May in Fresno. I was really excited about that, and then it got pushed back some more. Finally, at the end of August, these two guys went at it. I predicted Ramirez to win by a late stoppage or a convincing decision, but I felt like Postal was going to give him hell, and he did more than that. Postal really showed that Ramirez is going to struggle with boxers, in my opinion. He's going to struggle with a guy who plays chess instead of checkers. And, Ramirez came at him. He ended up winning the fight. I don't have a problem with him winning the fight, but it was very close. And Postal's a great fighter, so don't get me wrong. I'm not taking nothing from Postal, but this is about if Ramirez is on that elite level. He tried to blame it on not having fans in the crowd. I'm not saying that doesn't, impact things, but, he did get a tough, hard-fought win. It was one of my title defenses of the year, and he deserves some accolades for that, so congrats. But it's not 100% confirmed yet, but it looks pretty damn clear that Ramirez is going to face Josh Taylor for the undisputed Junior Welterweight Championship at 140. All 4 belts will be on the line. These guys will make some history in that fight. Personally, I think he's going to lose, but I do think he has a puncher's chance, and it's going to be good. So we'll see what happens. That fight's supposed to happen in the first quarter of the year. And finally, at number 1, tying with Ramirez, remaining number 1, is the IBF WBA Unified Champion, Josh Taylor of Scotland. Taylor came into the year number 1 and already the Unified Champ, coming off the biggest win of his career, that majority decision against Regis Progrey. Well, he was, obviously wanted bigger fights, but he had a mandatory due against, Apanan Kong Song. And, the guy was a nobody, hadn't beaten anybody, he was undefeated, but he came in, he scored a first-round knockout on a body punch against pretty much a nobody name. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do against nobodies is walk right over them. So he took it serious, he got the win, and now he has an undisputed title fight lined up with Jose Ramirez, as I just mentioned. That's a huge fight right there for both guys. The winner, can try to look for other big fights at 140. Maybe you invite up Teofimo Lopez, or they can move up to the best division in boxing, which is welterweight. Personally, if this fight takes place, I got Taylor winning, but I do think Ramirez has a puncher's chance, but I think it's going to be good. So we'll see what happens. But that is the top 10 for the junior welterweight division. I think the junior welterweight division is going to end up being wide open after Taylor and Ramirez decide who's the man, because I don't think either guy's going to want to hold on to all the belts because Jack Catterall's next, and he's kind of a nobody name. I think the winner's going to want a big fighter. The winner's going to invite up somebody like Teofimo Lopez, and if they don't want to come up, they're going to move up in weight, in my opinion, and look for bigger fights up there. But, that's what I think is going to go down. So this might be a turnover year, but there are some good fighters at this weight class. So you really want to check these guys out and see what they're all about. And, but I do think we're going to have a turnover and a whole new looking top 10 by the end of the year at 140. And that's not a bad thing, because we got some good fighters in this division and other guys that want to move up. So we'll see what goes down. But all right, guys, that's the top 10 for the 140-pound junior welterweight division, the year-end top 10. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.